to terminate her pregnancy, which was roughly more than 26 weeks old. The Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act 1971 lays down stipulated guidelines and rules as to what is the time frame under which, under various circumstances, a pregnancy can be terminated. Now, this has gone well past the 24-week, which is the upper limit. And in this case, as far as the exceptions are concerned, the circumstances under which the termination of the pregnancy may be allowed, those exceptions under 3 to 5 of the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, they were not applicable. The court ruled that in a circumstance where there is no direct threat to the life of a mother, there is no need for this pregnancy to be terminated. The court also said that the mother is free to put up the child for abortion and the state is going to bear all the costs once the child is born. But her right, the right of a mother to take a call whether she wants to have a child. The lady already had 2 children and she said mentally she will not be able to cope up with it. The Supreme Court said that there is an intricate balance that needs to be struck between a woman's right over her body and the rights of an unborn child. Some reactions on the story.
So what has happened today is that the court has held that the woman is having crossed the 24-week mark as prescribed in the statute, cannot be permitted to carry on with the termination of pregnancy at this late stage. And the court has essentially just reiterated the law as it stands. The court has once again reiterated the law that is laid down in the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. And in fact, during the course of the hearing, the court had also made an observation that India has its own statute and we have to abide by the law as it stands.
Well, let's take you through this order. What exactly was this order about and what exactly are the circumstances under which the Supreme Court passed this order? Point number 1, the pregnancy termination cannot be allowed. Why it cannot be allowed is for the simple reason that it has breached the 24-week mark which is set by the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act. And right now the exception does not apply that it's threatening to the life of a mother. The state is directed to bear all the medical costs of the woman, what kind of care she needs, also when a child is born, whatever medical costs that come. There is no immediate threat to mother life, exception under section 3 to 5 of the MTP. That's the only exception if the pregnancy has crossed 24 weeks. This is not a case of fetal abnormality. The second exception is that if a child is born and the fetal abnormality is to a condition where there is an imminent and a grave danger to the unborn child, only in that case you can go ahead and abort. Abortion violates section 3 to 5 of the MTP Act, as I pointed out. Now, clearly in this case, the moot question was, what is the right of a woman over her own body? The circumstances in which she can make a decision whether to keep a pregnancy or to terminate a pregnancy. India has always had this liberal law when it comes to the choice of a woman whether to have a child or not. India is one of the few democratic countries which have liberal laws which give a woman wide autonomy to decide whether she wants to keep a child or whether she wants to adopt a child. And of course, if it's a married woman, the consent of her husband also becomes important. What is the law of the land? Law of the land says that the Medical Termination of the Pregnancy Act 1971, it stipulates that if a pregnancy is roughly up to 20 weeks and a woman wants to adopt because she wants to abort because this is a child which is an unplanned pregnancy or there is a threat to her life or it in some way it causes harms her interest. If there is a reasonable ground and she goes to a doctor and says, look, I want to terminate this pregnancy, she legally has a right to do that. That ceiling goes up to 24 weeks and in that case you require the opinion of 2 doctors. In the case of 20 or less than 20 weeks, it's the opinion of 1 doctor. In this case, it was 26 weeks plus. So there was a special panel at the All India Institute of Medical Sciences that was set up. This AIMS panel looked at various aspects of this particular case, postpartum depression, mental trauma, and various other psychological factors were cited by this woman to argue that she is not in a condition to have this child. And the court should understand these circumstances. The court said, look, while we respect your right and we respect your argument, there is an intricate balance that we need to strike and there are rights of the unborn child. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar also with us on the broadcast. Ananya, the key observations from the bench.
Well, definitely the Supreme Court felt that, the 142 direction that the Supreme Court exercises while giving out such order, the extraordinary power that it has, very, very clearly stated that, it has to be exercised very, very cautiously. And in this case, since the mother is fine, since the child is fine, that's exactly why the Supreme Court felt that a fetus should not be killed. It cannot give a direction to the All India Institute of Medical Science to stop the heartbeat of that particular fetus who's just born. Though a very clear observation and a very clear direction has been given out by the topmost court of the country that the state shall bear all medical expenses, and if at all the parents of this particular child feel that they cannot take care of that particular child, they can put the child for adoption, and the care centers would actually give them all the assistance possible. So very significantly, Anusha, another judgment with regards to medical termination of pregnancy, another big observation coming in from the topmost court of the country, where it does not stop the fetus, where it does not allow an abortion to take place, clearly saying that the mother is fine, and the 142 jurisdiction of the topmost court of the country should be exercised in cases of utmost importance and where there is in fact a threat to the child.
Absolutely, Ananya, and this is not the first case at the Supreme Court where circumstances have come in. In fact, there are, even in the past, in the last couple of years, multiple petitions have come up before the Supreme Court asking, and these are women who come before the court and argue, cite various circumstances and say, look, I'm a victim of rape and I don't want to keep this child, my pregnancy is well past the 20-week ceiling, I need a permission. Various such petitions have been going to the High Court and the Supreme Court, and the courts in most of these cases, Ananya, have been highly sensitive to the wants of a woman, to understand that reproductive rights at the end of the day rest with the woman. Could you take us through the facts of this case? This particular woman was already a mother of 2 children. What were the psychological factors that she was citing before the court to argue her case?
She was, she was a 27-year-old woman who is almost 26 weeks pregnant and is dealing with was dealing with a mental disorder very clearly, and had told the court that, she will not be able to take care of the child, and that's exactly why she wants the child to not be born. But at the end of it, very clearly, the Supreme Court felt that, since the mother is fine, since the child is also fine, the fetus is also fine, then there is no way that the Supreme Court would actually be violating Section 3 and 5 of the Medical Termination of the Pregnancy Act. And that's exactly why the topmost court of the country felt that this is not a case where the laws should be violated, it should be overcome, and the extraordinary jurisdiction under Section 142, Article 142 of the Constitution of India should be exercised by the topmost court of the country. If you remember that it was the same Justice Chandrachud who had allowed and had given an extensive judgment on abortion and medical termination of pregnancy earlier, and had very clearly stated that, this is the bodily autonomy, this is a very clear and cut right of a woman to actually choose if she wants to give a birth or not. But at this point of time, seeing the medical circumstance and seeing that the fetus is fine, seeing the mother is also fine, and this is not a case of rape or some trauma that had happened to the woman, very clearly it said that this is something that we cannot allow at this point of time, and very clearly the topmost court of the country said that the abortion cannot actually take place. Anusha.
2 points I want to add to what Ananya already said. One is indeed a very interesting point that he brings to the discussion, is the fact that it was Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, who was part of that bench that read the exception of marital rape into the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, which means that marital rape as a criminal offence is not allowed or recognized in India, but that is recognized as a valid ground for termination of pregnancy if that's the exception a woman wants to invoke. Now, this is a case. These are particular circumstances that came before the court. This is not a pronouncement on any part of the MTP Act, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, or the particular constitutionality of a law. Whatever has happened in this case is very peculiar and specific to the circumstances and the facts of this particular case. Ananya, coming back to this entire case and how it panned out at the court, it was interesting that the AIMS panel came up with a certain view. There were overnight emails that were written to the judges of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court held multiple hearings and rounds of consultation, before deciding as to what is the right way to go about it. At one point, there was a very in-depth and a thorough discussion as to what is the right way forward. It wasn't a clear-cut, straight decision for the court to make.
Well, definitely, Anusha, it was not a clear-cut decision for the court to make. It held extensive hearings. It held, multiple hearings in this particular case. Continuously heard it for days, and in fact, continuous exchange of emails also took place between the AIIMS Medical Board and, in fact, the petitioner and the court itself. Though the final report of the AIIMS very categorically stated that the woman is dealing with a mental disorder, and in fact, the medication that she is taking is not affecting the fetus. Not only this, the AIIMS panel also sought for a direction from the top of the country today to stop the heartbeat if at all the abortion has to be carried out. However, the Supreme Court refused to do so. But you know, Anusha, the hearing of this particular case saw the Chief Justice of India discussing the position of our country when it comes to the abortion laws, very clearly stating that we are way ahead of the United States, we are way ahead of various foreign countries, various developed countries, we are way ahead of the Roe versus Wade's judgment. We are a country which provides for bodily autonomy to women. We respect the bodily autonomy of the women and clearly give a clear-cut right to the woman to actually choose if she wants to carry out a pregnancy or not carry out a pregnancy. This was a peculiar discussion that happened in this particular hearing, which
Ananya, stay with us on the broadcast. I'll
days.
continue chatting with you. I'll keep coming back to you and talk more about what happened at the Supreme Court. Yogita Bayana is also joining us on the broadcast. Yogita, your thoughts on what the Supreme Court decided? As I was discussing with my colleague, it was not a straight and a simple decision to make. There were multiple concerns that the court had to take into account. Your thoughts on what transpired at the court?
Basically, I understand it's a very sensitive matter, and we how much we obey the law and how much we respect and we have faith in our law. At the same time, there is a larger discussion, women owning their own bodies and making their own decisions. So, a lot needs to be done. And as I was hearing your colleague saying that we are way ahead of America and other countries where, decisions are not, given to the women. However, we can say that, case to case, it depends, also because I work with rape victims. So, we really need to take that call, whether, maybe not even a woman, a girl herself who's below 18, a child itself carrying that baby in her womb. Definitely it should depend, on her future and, her prosperity is, is not keeping the child or keeping the child. The entire decision should be on the women itself. So because most of the women are victim of circumstances in these cases, especially in our country, given that context. So I think, I don't want to comment because it is actually in between a gray area. However, the larger picture is that women should own their own body and then they should have the right to choose what they want to do.
Absolutely. I mean, as a notion, I agree with you. And in the circumstances of this case, I'm sure the judges and the bench were aware of the circumstances that they were really dealing with. And hence a call has been made. Dr. D.K. Gupta, who's the CMD of Felix Hospital, is also joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Dr. Gupta. Thank you so much for speaking with us. This was the third pregnancy of a woman, and she cited postpartum depression and various other mental factors as a reason why she should be allowed to terminate her pregnancy. While the court has made the final call, sir, on this particular matter, whether the pregnancy needs to be terminated or not and abortion will not happen, could you, as an expert in this field, point out that how critical and important are psychological factors or any form of mental illness for a woman to decide whether she wants to have a child or not, whether she wants to give birth to a child or not? Dr. Gupta.
I think it is very clear under the Medical Termination of the Pregnancy Act, that is MTP Act, the upper limit of the termination of the pregnancy is 24 weeks for married women. Special categories including survivors of rape and other vulnerable women such as differently abled and minors. The apex code is faced count them from the party that they should be allowed for 26 week fetus termination, but it has been clearly stated by the AIIMS authority that the fetus is fully developed and it is having no abnormal of any other congenital abnormalities, and it is not 26, it is 26 5 days old baby, and it is going as per the timelines, and therefore after second opening from the, not the first opening, after the second opening from the AIIMS doctor, the court has decided that the pregnancy should not be terminated. I think there is a very difficult decision for a woman who want to terminate her pregnancy, because it can cause so much physical trauma, so much mental trauma, because it is very difficult to have, you should respect all the like all parties, including the party who is having gone to the Supreme Court, that this is a decision. We should accept it. We should respect it, and it can be a guideline for the future also, that nobody should approach post 24 weeks, because till 24 weeks everything is decided that fetus is abnormal or normal, and it can be actually proved by the different techniques of ultrasound and other investigations we are having right now. And after that, I think nobody should be allowed for the termination of pregnancy post 24 weeks. That's, I think, that guideline.
All right. Can I also cut across to Dr. Jayashree, who's with us on the broadcast? Dr. Jayashree, I hope you can hear me. Your thoughts on what the Supreme Court has decided today?
What I have been hearing and what I see personally when I see girls coming pregnant to me when they are dealing with an unwanted pregnancy, we have to be very clear on one thing, that the woman has the whole and sole control of the pregnancy that she carries, nobody else. But in our society, the circumstances don't work that way. I mean, when we see the girls, so there is still a lot of things which are involved. So mental trauma is a big there is a big 0 to 10 in mental trauma, right? So it is very difficult to say that which level of mental trauma should justify a woman terminating a pregnancy at 26 weeks, right? So, and at the end of the day, I told before also, and I shared again, what about the rights of the unborn child in this world? I mean, 26 weeks is a viable child who can be saved. When we have IVF pregnancy, we save 26 weekers, right? So for anybody to terminate a pregnancy at 26 weeks when there is no abnormality in the baby is a lot of challenge. And I respect the woman's concern and her call to the Supreme Court, whether she needs a termination because she is going through a lot of hassle, and I can appreciate it. But at the same time, we have to think that this law can be misused once allowed once. Already as a nation, we are much more better. Many developed nations also when it comes to abortion laws. So we need to be very clear on what we are dealing with.
Dr. Sundar, there's one more facet I want to talk to you about, and as somebody who deals with these cases much more on a professional basis, you'd be able to shed more light on it. And I'm not saying this happens just in the case of abortion, or it's relevant only to this particular case, but we as a nation are yet to recognize the importance of mental health as much as we recognize the importance of physical health in our country. And that holds true in the pregnancies also, right? So whenever a woman says she's going through a postpartum depression, is it really taken with the same degree of seriousness like a physical illness would be? What I'm trying to come at is that are mental illnesses during the time of pregnancy understated or less understood in this country?
Yeah, I fully agree with you, because you see, mental health is, as it is, very poorly understood in this country. And we are generally very judgmental about mental health, right? We say this happened, that is why this happened, but mental health is always not the same. And if you look at a modern woman who is pregnant, who has been through a good professional career, who is taking a leave or taking a back seat because she is pregnant, and then she has multiple inputs from people about how her pregnancy journey should be. So there is a lot of puerperal blues, what we call it. I mean, all of us have faced it. I've seen my own doctor colleagues, me myself, when I had my first pregnancy. It's not easy for a woman when she goes through the process of labor, and then post pregnancy when you're lactating, when you're a mother dairy for 24 hours 7 days a week, right? So there is a lot of mental element. In fact, as a hospital, we are also trying to bring up the mental health status, to go through scales of what she feels post a pregnancy or pre a pregnancy, and we do talk to women about it nowadays much more than what we used to do before. And and we tell them there are helps available. But yes, as a family, people think that since the child is born and everything is okay, the woman just needs rest and pampering and nothing more. That's not true. She needs a lot of mental and psychological support. And as doctors, I think we have started recognizing this and we start talking about it, but obviously not for the strata which really needs it, our lower population, right? There's no time to treat them for physical health, let alone mental health. But in
Yeah.
private settles, we are trying to build this up for our women in a big way and talk to them about it. Yes, it is a much needed thing to be talked about. Developed nations, the biggest cause of maternal death is puerperal depression and suicide. So we should not give it up at all. We should be talking to our women about blues and depression and
Ma'am,
psychosis.
as you rightly said that we've not had informed discussions in this country about pregnancy, mental health, and how critical are those factors, especially when a woman is going through that process and the early months right after a child is born. I want to talk a bit more about those aspects because in this case, the moot argument of the woman was she's suffering from postpartum depression. Her second child was born in 2022, I believe September 2022. So this is roughly just more than a year that she's about to give birth in the next few months to her third child. And she said she's mentally not ready for it and, she wants to abort the child. Now, are most mothers in our country, in your experience, given the kind of psychological support that they really need? And I'm not even going to the underprivileged sections or the rural areas of our country, but even in relatively better informed and better equipped urban centers. Is the mental aspect, mental health better understood in these areas, or perhaps there is much more to be done?
Oh, there is much more to be done on this. There is much more to be done on this. There is no doubt in my mind about that. I mean, how many of us as clinicians talk to our women about how they are feeling? Are you feeling okay? This is one question we should ask them every day, every other day. That's one thing I keep asking all my mothers who have delivered. So they'll say, oh, look at my baby, or the husband will say, look at the baby. I said, no, if the mother is okay, the child is going to be okay. Right? So my child, that is the mother, needs to be okay, and this has to be re-emphasized to the family, because when the baby is born, there will be multiple inputs to the woman about how she should cover her head. I'm talking about our Indian scenario, especially in North India, how she covers her head, what she should eat, what she should drink,
Okay.
whether she can have cold water, she can have hot water. So it really puts a lot of dilemma for a woman who has led a absolutely normal, independent and financially and emotionally independent life, and now she has everybody giving her a advice of what should be done. So holistically, we need to talk to the family too, and I try to tell them that don't keep saying things which were relevant at one point in time and not relevant anymore. So try to balance out her eating, try to balance out what she feels, give her baby free time. That's so important for them, because every time the baby is in the room, you're psychologically bound to that baby. So they do need their breaks, they do need that time. And I have seen girls breaking down, having anxiety attacks, and I have had to refer them to psychiatrists. You have to catch them there because they will be crying for no reason, and it happens more often than it is spoken about. And we have been discussing that we need to talk about a woman's mental health and give them a score to see what is their mental status, and to see whether the score is changing once they are having their babies. So a pre-pregnancy score and a post-pregnancy score is what we are trying to achieve and see for our women.
Dr. Jayashree, this has been a fascinating conversation, and I'm glad we could take up this topic here on The Nation at 5 today, because the mental health of expecting mothers or new mothers, and especially mothers who have always been financially, emotionally and socially independent, and suddenly when they find themselves in this situation, they are not psychologically or emotionally equipped ordinarily to deal with these circumstances. Mental health was the key argument in this case that this woman had cited. She was suffering from a kind of postpartum depression that happens after the birth of a child. But the court said, in this case, the fetus is fine and they need to save the child. That's the intricate balance the court has struck. We'll keep talking about the story and much more here on The Nation at 5. For now, we are slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto. Hello, Moto.
You know what?
And they were part of the community here.
Yeah.
So you see the entire city of Sidrot has been become like a ghost town. There are streets, houses well built, nice streets, and you will not see any single person who is still living there. Very few people like Itna, they have not fled from the spot. They believe in God and they think that probably the Almighty will save them once again and for all. The town of Sidrot, which used to be very hustling, bustling, wears a very deserted look. Streets are empty. Free any emergency vehicle or people who have been, some of the media people also visiting the place, but mostly the citizens of this city, they have fled, fearing their security and safety, and also that the security establishment of Israel asked them to leave because they feared that many of the Hamas terrorists could be hiding in the garb of being citizen of the city. So almost like say have fled from the city. The shops are closed, the schools have been closed. You will not find anybody around the place.
אנחנו חיים פה בשדרות ואני שייכת פה ועוד בשדרות.
All people fled from the city.
אנחנו פה. Yes. Okay.
Most of the people have fled from the city. People have not even cleared this debris of the blast that happened on 7th of October mostly, and because most of the town is empty now, people have fled, so nobody is there to take care of the stuff, nobody is there to take care of the cleaning, and it looks like a weird vibe in this town. Everything is all good, houses are nice, streets are clean, but there is no one who is living here. It's a weird feeling walking in a town which could have been a very busy and normal and active place, but right now it's very nicely planned, well-built city with greeneries, clean streets and nice houses, but tragically there is nobody who is living right now here. And this is the town of Sderot, which was under heavy attack from Hamas terrorists on 7th of October. Of the thousands of rockets that were fired from Gaza targeting Israeli cities, many of them fell in the city of Sderot also. Ashkelon was also another city. Ashdod was the city when those who were attacked, and those are nearer to the Gaza Strip. These are the remnants of what is left, what had happened on the day when this attack happened on the city of Sderot. There's an eerie vibe in the entire town. When we see this ghostly town, nobody around, and it wears a very the city wears a look that is of a utopian world where the city is built, nobody's there. Behind me, what you are seeing is those JCB machines are clearing the debris of 7th of October when the entire region or the entire locality was taken hostage by the Hamas terrorists. The police station, which is now in rubble, was also taken hostage by these terrorists, and about 20 to 30 people from the city were killed, including policemen in the police station. several of the Hamas terrorists, about 20 of them, were also killed during the hours of gunfight that ensued following the attack of terrorists in the city. And as we have seen, the entire town has no citizen, only the reservists, the people, the police, security personnel, or some of the media persons have been around this place covering the story of tragedy, the trail of destruction. And the entire feet you would see for 100 meters there is not a single person that is visible, and entire town, buildings, hospitals, education institutes, centers of activity.
Welcome back. You're watching The Nation at 5, and let's cut across to some latest bit of exclusive information that we get to you here on CNN News 18. Syed Salahuddin, the designated terrorist by India who's trying to make himself relevant and keep himself relevant, has now equated the Palestine situation to Kashmir. In this propaganda audio which has been put out, he points out to the so-called atrocities that exist in Kashmir and also point out to what's happening in Palestine right now. Syed Salahuddin, a mastermind of various attacks that were carried out here in India and various other terror activities which are carried out on the Kashmiri soil, he's the one who's responsible for it. And India on different occasions has also put the evidence on record, not just in front of Pakistan but at the world stage. Let's take you through some points one by one. What he has said in this audio: Palestine going through a difficult phase. He has equated the cause of Palestine to the issue in Kashmir. Israel would take over Gaza after the attack, also calling for Muslims to unite in this cause. The propaganda or the radicalized message that has been put out. As I said earlier, Kashmir and Palestine going through the same turmoil. That is what Hizbul chief has said already. Israel pointed out how ISIS and ISIS flags were found in various attacks at the site done by attack sites of Hamas. Yahudis and Hindus have several similarities. Talking about Jews and Hindus here, he points out to the angle of religion and saying that they have a lot in common. Yahudis and Hindus are strategic partners. The fact that India has openly supported Israel is also something which is being used by these elements. This is the time of jihad, and I pray that we win this jihad, the global jihad, or the terror activities carried out in the name of jihad is something, it is pretty evident here. Let me cut across to our guest as well, Mr. A.K. Sivach, former Major General A.K. Sivach, who's a defense analyst, is joining us on the broadcast. Former Commodore G.J. Singh, who's also a defense analyst, is also with us. Major General Sivach, taking in a view from you about this statement that has come in from Syed Salahuddin, equating what has happened in Palestine to the situation in Kashmir, or the kind of propaganda that we have seen come in from the side of Pakistan. How do you see these comments?
As far as Palestine and Kashmir are concerned, these are two different issues. They are not at all connected. See, Pakistan just want to complicate the issue and trying to make use of the situation. As far as India is concerned, we are very clear. Prime Minister Modi has very categorically said that as Hamas is a terrorist organization which has now attacked basically the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Israel, and therefore it needs to be crushed. And we are against terrorism. As far as the Palestine cause is concerned, there is no change of stance as far as India is concerned. So that point must be made clear. And as far as Palestine and Kashmir issues are there, they are two different issues. As far as Kashmir is concerned, Kashmir is an integral part of India from 26 October 1947. It is illegally occupied by Pakistan, both the POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan, and it is time has come when they should vacate it, because as it is, the people are revolting both in POJK and Gilgit-Baltistan, whether it is Muzaffarabad, Mirpur, Kotli, Jangar, the people are coming out on the streets. They are without water and electricity. They have not got a pay for almost 2 years. They say that Kashmir has developed tremendously. They want to join India. As far as Gilgit-Pakistan is concerned, the Shia population is considered as a second-class citizen by Pakistan. As it is, the minorities are not very well treated in Pakistan. They want to now open this road Skardu to Kargil. They also want to join India. So therefore, Pakistan and their local standard is not there in Kashmir. They are illegally occupying. They need to vacate. At the earliest time has come that must be done. And India stands with Israel as far as terrorism is concerned. There should be no doubt in anyone's mind. We consider Hamas a terrorist organization which has attacked on Israel, and it needs to be now dealt accordingly.
All right, Commodore Singh, coming to you, taking in a view from you. This is somewhere trying to create this narrative of so-called global jihad or radicalization project which has always had its roots in Pakistan. And talking about the likes of Syed Salahuddin, nothing else could have been expected from them. But the fact that he talks about Yahudis and Hindus or the similarities between Jews and Hindus, that part of propaganda messaging, is that important to note? Is that something that can find more place in the propaganda that has been put out by these terror outfits?
Yes, first of all, I would like to make it very clear that this kind of narrative is coming from a very semi-literate person.
Yeah.
He doesn't know about the history of these conflicts. The conflict between Palestinians and Jews, in fact, in that region, all the Islamic country is embedded in 2,000 or 3,500 years old history, whereas we have only a 70 years old history. Our problem with Pakistan came in 1947 when the two states were created out of British India, one India and Pakistan. Whereas the people of Israel or the Jewish people came from all over the world back to their country after 2,000 years, and now these people call them that they are doing occupation, they are the occupiers.
Right.
And whereas the history tells us that they were exiled from the land in 70 AD, otherwise they were ruling over that place, and that state was at that time also called Israel. Therefore, this Salahuddin doesn't understand our problem with Pakistan or this problem coming out of partition and this state of Kashmir. Has nothing to do with that. And if I compare the comparison between the two, then I find that we are very, very soft people. We are very kind people. Have we ever bombarded Kashmir like the Israelis are doing on the Gaza Strip? Has we ever entered our tanks into the Kashmir Valley or in any other place like they are doing it now? In fact, the Israelis are taking action against the terrorist attack of Hamas, which has sworn to wipe or to kill all Jews. Tell me, what were these Hamas has done to those innocent people, women, old, men, women, and children?
Well, there is a reason, sir. As you pointed out, sir, there's a reason why Hamas is a designated terror organization by the United States of America, and the Western superpowers are aligned in that narrative. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast and sharing your views and perspective on the story. There's a piece of breaking news coming in. Let's cut across to those developments. Amid the raging Israel-Hamas war, a group of opposition leaders, including MP Danish Ali and former parliamentarians like Mr. Manishankar Iyer, also Mr. K.C. Tyagi, have visited the Palestine embassy to express solidarity with the Palestinians. The opposition leaders have also issued a statement and have condemned the bombing of Palestinians in Gaza by Israel and said this amounts to genocide. We already have witnessed a sort of politics that has played out here in India. The government of India, Prime Minister on repeated occasions, more than 2 occasions, has unequivocally expressed his support to the actions of Israel and what the country is suffering right now. The response of the Congress party has been a nuanced one. They have said that yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but still the humanitarian causes should be looked into. On the other side, you have also had the left parties which have taken an extreme view, calling Israel a terrorist state. So that narrative has played out here in India as well. Cutting across to Anshul, who is with us on the broadcast. Anshul, tell us more about this.
So yes, at least 15 leaders from the India Alliance have come out in support of Palestine, and in fact today, just a few minutes ago, they came to the Palestinian embassy, the location at which I am standing, and they submitted this memorandum to the ambassador. Now this memorandum that has been signed by more than 15 opposition leaders very clearly states, and I'd like to quote from this, that recognizing the Palestine people have endured innumerable suffering over the last 75 years, we firmly assert that now is the time to end their plight. We urge the international community to recognize the establishment of an independent Palestine along the 1967 borders in accordance with the UN resolution. Also, they have very clearly stated that Mahatma Gandhi, while Israel and Palestine were being formed back in 1947-48, had very clearly stated that Palestine belongs to Arabs, the same manner in which England belongs to the Britishers, and hence the stand of India should remain the same. They have urged the international community to come out in support of Palestine and stop the kind of atrocities that are happening on the Palestine people in this ongoing war between Hamas and Israel. How much of this will have any sort of deterrence in the manner in which we are seeing the war that has broken out over the Israel-Gaza border over the last 7 days? That is something that remains to be seen. But yes, these parties from the India Alliance have now very clearly come on record and have submitted their support in favor of the people of Palestine. And while speaking to CNN News 18, they have also made an appeal to Israel as well as Hamas to make sure that this entire war is stopped at the earliest, so that the loss that people are enduring, that civilians are enduring, that could be stopped, and definitely a resolution could be found by the way of dialogue.
All right, Anshul, as you get us all those details, our colleague Akshara is also joining us from Bengaluru. Akshara, I believe there are some pro-Palestine protests which are happening in the IT capital of the country. Tell us more about these protests. Who are these participants?
Well, you see, large number of citizens and activists have gathered here at MG Road metro station. So as you can see in the visuals, citizens have formed a human chain here. They're holding placards and also, Palestinian flags which read "The help is near, free Gaza." So these are the readings which you're getting to see here. You can see people holding candles here. But right now, as you can see in the visuals, people are not letting them, hold this protest, the silent protest that is being held at MG Road metro station. They are taking away the placards and also the Palestinian flags which are being held by the students and the citizens here who have gathered here. So as you can see the visuals, the dramatic visuals that are coming in, the students are being pushed aside and likely to be taken into police custody because the police officials are not allowing them or letting them to hold the silent protest that is being held today. So these are the dramatic visuals that are coming in. So the students and the activists say that this was an informed discussion was supposed to take place here, where they are holding placards and also pamphlets are being distributed to the citizens here in Bengaluru who have gathered here, where they claim that they would like to inform the citizens of Bengaluru regarding what is taking place in Palestine. So that's what is taking place here. That was what's supposed to take place here. But right now, police officials who have come here are stating that they have no permission to protest here. So that's the reason why they'll be taking into police custody. They'll be taking them into police custody. But as you can see in the visuals, a large number of people have gathered here in support with the Palestine. So that's what happening here at MG Road metro station here in Bengaluru, where scores of people are gathered here. But right now, as you can see in the visuals, they are being taken into police custody, likely to be taken into police custody. So the idea of these citizens and people who had gathered here is that they wanted to discuss the issue of Palestine and bring awareness about the issue of Palestine here in Bengaluru. So that's what they had to say regarding this. So that's the reason why you're getting to see large number of students, so citizens of Bengaluru who had gathered here in support with the Palestinian people. So that's what is taking place here in Bengaluru. But as you can see in the visuals right now, bringing you from the MG Road metro station, the police are not letting them stand here with the placards or Palestine flags. They are asking them to vacate the place right now. So that's what is taking place here in Bengaluru, where groups of citizens, activists have gathered here in solidarity with Palestine.
Absolutely, Akshara and Anshul getting us all the details on that important story. Across the world, these kind of protests have been witnessed. While there are various pro-Israel protests, solidarity with Israel protests that have happened, countries like India have unequivocally come out and supported the cause of Israel. But there are various protests and demonstrations that have happened expressing concerns around the humanitarian crisis in Gaza and also along the West Bank. Let's listen in to some more reactions coming in on the story.
We met the Palestinian ambassador, and through him we have conveyed our solidarity with the people of Palestine. And India is one country which has been consistently supporting the Palestinian cause and Palestinian people's right to have their own homeland. And now what Israel is doing is nothing but occupation of Palestinian territories. It is Israel which has been conducting the war against Palestinian people.
No, we came here to express our solidarity on behalf of the Indian people. Because right now, whatever happened on the 7th of October, we all know. But it has not stopped there. And now what is happening right now in Gaza, it is nothing short of a very openly declared genocide. And we cannot allow this to go on like this.
My colleague Abhishek Jha brings us this report from the war zone. He's reporting from the ground. Let's have a look.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, India's best 5G smartphone brand.
So that is one of the reasons why we have not seen a very strong offensive from the Israeli side onto the territory of Gaza. There have been multiple rockets or missiles launched by the aerial forces, but not any ground invasion that Israeli army has done. There are talks that happens very time soon, but the preparation for them has been going on, and with the kind of latest figure that the Israeli ministry has quoted, 199 hostages. So far we had unconfirmed reports of about 150 hostages, many of them foreigners, but with the latest figure it looks like the situation has been more precarious than initially it was thought. And we have also seen Prime Minister Netanyahu meeting the families of hostages who have been protesting in front of the Defense Ministry for days now to ensure the safe evacuation of those who have been held hostages in the Gaza Strip. Also, we have seen several rounds of talks happening among the leaders.
Well, we track that story and much more here on CNN News 18 on The Nation at 5. For now, slipping into a very short break. Stay tuned, stay with us.
Hello, Moto. Hello, Moto.
Everything is empty, everything is vacated by the people of Zeroth. So we are joined by Adna, and she is 71-year-old. She is one of the few who has not left the city of Sderot, which has been under attack in the last 7 days. We have seen, like on 7th of October, there was a massive massacre, a rampage of Hamas terrorists, which went on for hours in the city. And after that, security forces have taken hold of the city, but many of the civilians, almost entire civilian population, has fled from the spot. Ma'am, you are still here, so why didn't you go?
I didn't go because I trust to the God help us, the God love us, and we are the hero, not the Hamas. Because the Hamas are very bad people and the God don't like bad people.
So you had your family here who used to live here?
No,
So
this is the house of my father and my mother.
Okay.
They dead, so I live there.
Okay, so most of the neighborhood people have fled?
Yeah.
Where have they gone?
They gone to Eilat, Tel Aviv, Dead Sea. Yeah.
Okay, so don't you aren't you scared of living here alone?
No, really no, because I trust the God. The God love the people. They good, not bad.
Many of the Israelis have very fond connection with India, and many of them know India very well. She's also very fond of Hindi movies. What movies do you like, ma'am?
Sangam.
Sangam.
Yeah.
Okay, could you sing?
I never forget it.
Okay, so like when did you watch Sangam?
Sangam in Zerot, in the cinema, yes.
Which year?
About 30 years, maybe 30 years.
And you still remember the movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And talking about India, if you like, the Indians also lived in Zerot?
Yeah.
How many Indians in Zerot?
About 4 families.
3-4 families. They have also fled.
Yeah.
So 3-4 Indian families from Zerot, they have also fled, and they were part of the community here.
Yeah.
So you see, the entire city of Sidrot has been become like a ghost town. There are streets, houses well built, nice streets, and you will not see any single person who is still living there. Very few people like Etna, they have not fled from the spot. They believe in God and they think that probably the Almighty will save them once again and for all. The town of Sidrot, which used to be very hustling, bustling, wears a very deserted look. Streets are empty. Free any emergency vehicle or people who have been, some of the media people also visiting the place, but mostly the citizens of this city, they have fled, fearing their security and safety, and also that the security establishment of Israel asked them to leave because they feared that many of the Hamas terrorists could be hiding in the garb of being citizen of the city. So almost like to say have fled from the city. The shops are closed, the schools have been closed. You will not find anybody around the place.
אנחנו חיים פה בשדרות ונשאר פה ועוד בשדרות.
All people fled from the city.
אנחנו פה. Yes. Okay.
Most of the people have fled from the city. People have not even cleared this debris of the blast that happened on 7th of October mostly, and because most of the town is empty now, people have fled, so nobody is there to take care of the stuff, nobody is there to take care of the cleaning, and it looks like a weird vibe in this town. Everything is all good, houses are nice, streets are clean, but there is no one who is living here. It's a weird feeling walking in a town which could have been a very busy and normal and active place, but right now it's very nicely planned, well-built city with greeneries, clean streets and nice houses, but tragically there is nobody who is living right now here. And this is the town of Zerot, which was under heavy attack from Hamas terrorists on 7th of October. Of the thousands of rockets that were fired from Gaza targeting Israeli cities, many of them fell in the city of Zerot also. Ashkelon was also another city. Ashdod was the city when those who were attacked, and those are nearer to the Gaza Strip. These are the remnants of what is left, what had happened on the day when this attack happened on the city of Zerot. There's an eerie vibe in the entire town. When we see this ghostly town, nobody around, and it wears a very the city wears a look that is of a utopian world where the city is built, nobody's there.
Welcome back. And cricket makes a comeback into Olympics almost after a century, and this crucial development has happened right at a time when India is hosting the ICC World Cup. Well, these are developments that we talk about, and indeed very important ones. The T20 format of cricket has now been officially included in the program of Los Angeles Olympics 2028, with the International Olympic Committee voting on Monday to include men and women competition along with 4 others in the roster for the Los Angeles Games. The announcement is special for several reasons. It comes during the ongoing ICC World Cup 2023, as I said, being hosted by India, and has been made at the 141st IOC session in Mumbai, which marks the return of the prestigious gathering to India after a gap of 40 years. This decision comes after the International Olympic Committee's executive board on Friday recommended the sport's inclusion in the 2028 Los Angeles Games. Remember, cricket was last played at the Olympics in Paris in 1900, when just 2 teams competed, France and Great Britain. With the match, the match was never given the status of a first-class game, Great Britain won the contest. Clearly, times have changed, and it's indeed a welcome change to watch out for.
We are seeing that for spread of sports, particularly within the younger community, a lot of efforts going on. Olympic Value Program was one of them. Do you see that this is India taking strides in the world of sports?
Yes, of course, but I also see our Indian girls and young women taking stride in the world of sport, and that makes me really proud. I have seen with my women's team what struggles girls go through in getting onto that global stage, and we need to have no differentiation, whether on sports field or outside sports field, between our boys and girls. And what better way to set an example than our girls representing India and winning medals for them.
That is exactly what the Olympic movement also talks about, gender neutrality, and bringing...
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the most heartwarming part of being a sports administrator, is to promote young boys and young girls in sports.
That commitment will continue, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. I'm committed to it, and Reliance Foundation is committed to this.
Those who are against, please raise your hands. Is there more than one? If there somebody is too shy that I cannot see them, then no. 2. Then 2 against. Then against 2 votes, the proposal is approved. Congratulations to the Program Commission, and congratulations to LA 28 for this approval.
Huge day today for India, particularly. LA 2028 cricket will be a part of Olympics.
No question. When I was mayor and fought and won the Olympics, one of the things I said to Casey Wasserman, my dear friend and chair, is let's put cricket in. I never dreamed I'd be the ambassador to India, the craziest cricket country in the world that goes mad for this incredible sport. And since I've been here in 6 months, I've gone to IPL matches, I plan to go to World Cup matches, but this is the greatest present that we could give not only to India, but to every cricket fan around the world. And to be here during the World Cup, 2 days after the India win over Pakistan, is incredible. The sense that India is coming into its sporting own. The Asian Games, record number of medals, over 100 for the first time. The way that Nita Ambani has been an incredible representative of India on the International Olympic Committee and hosted it so well. I joked with some of the Olympic Committee members, you should just give them the 2036 Games. It's going to be great. And I told Prime Minister Modi, if you need any advice for winning the 2036 Games, talk to me. I won the LA Games for 28. It's a long journey, but I think one that India deserves.
What does it mean for US now that 2024 cricket is happening there, 2028 is also happening? How do you see it?
You know, for us, it's a great moment because it recognizes we actually are cricket fans too. We're a cricket country. We had the first international match ever was in the United States in 1844. And we love our baseball. We don't have to choose between baseball and cricket. I love baseball, but now count me as an ambassador who loves cricket.
Exciting, is it, that finally cricket will be a part of Olympics LA 2028?
Yeah, well, it's been a long journey, but it's hugely exciting. Great day for the sport today, and it's really appropriate to have the sport ratified here in Mumbai, right in the middle of our marquee Cricket World Cup. So, yeah, very, very exciting.
Overall, looking at the fact that, the Olympic movement has returned to India after a gap of 40 years. Now, cricket, which is a huge sport following in India, is also a part of Olympics. How do you see this boosting India's image in the sporting arena?
Well, it's not just India. It's all members that are going to benefit from this, including India. So I think for the sport generally, it's a fantastic outcome, and for all 108 members. So yeah, I think it's a win for the cricket community and globally for the sport.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of The Nation at 5. Plain Speak follows. Thank you so much for watching.
Six p.m. Saying it like it is. Without fear or favor. Plain Speak. 7 p.m. When the facts speak for themselves. Just like that. The hard facts. 8 p.m. Where India comes first. Always. The right stand. 9 p.m. Where the big stories are simplified. Bite by bite. Prostax. 10 p.m. Worldview. Indian Insight. Vantage. News 18 Prime. Weeknights 6 to 11.
Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. The whole country rejoiced on Saturday when the men in blue crushed Pakistan in Ahmedabad. Jasprit Bumrah and Kuldeep Yadav triggered a stunning Pakistan batting collapse and shared 4 wickets in India's dominant victory over its arch rivals. But now politics has erupted over a video where some people in stands are seen chanting Jai Shri Ram slogans as more